So this is the part where I talk for a while. So this is my lecture. I will be talking about grief in musical theater, a gateway to immortality, and the music that grants that gift. My goal for this presentation is to leave you with a deeper understanding of why we turn to art in times of grief, and how those executing that art create necessary beats to memorialize the subject of that grief. First, I would like to begin with a quote from the book Grief and the Expressive Arts, Practices for Creating Meaning. Actors perform a fluid sculpture embodying the teller's complex and conflicting emotions. The reason I am beginning with this quote is because it brings us right into one of our goals, understanding the beats that are necessary for a song of grief to effectively immortalize the memory, person, and/or event that the character is actively grieving. To do this, we will be looking at our 4 base stages that are frequently present in songs of grief. We begin with setting the stage. Through hints in the music, body language of the actor, and context clues of the actual musical, we are able to establish where we are and what the general intent and feel of the scene might be about to indulge upon. This portion of the song frequently pulls with cautionary ambiance. Next, we move to emotional recall. Imbued with a storytelling point of view, which we will call the once upon a time effect, which is remembering past events and moments within the backstory of the topic of grief. Next, we have emotional embodiment. That's hard to see. Next, we have emotional embodiment. We move from recall to embodiment once the character begins to throw away caution and enters a threat response that is often spearheaded by the inciting incident of their grief. Usually causes them to become a little more raw in delivery of appearance. In some cases, if the character is at a point that they are ready to start healing, they will move into awareness of their own grief and even pass into forgiveness. And this invites them into the final stage that is very hard to see, but I will tell you it, is embodied amplification, in which there can be a transformation of the character in some way. They take the recall and the embodiment and amplify it into this new stage that they have entered in their grief process. It is the stage that is frequently the reason they are singing the song. In some cases, this includes a celebration, a set of new rules going forward, and the dance that they will learn to dance to help move forward in order to be able to exist with their grief, be it alone or with others. To demonstrate these beats, we will be applying them to the song I'll Be Here, shocker, the musical Ordinary Days by Adam S. To give brief context, the musical follows 4 ordinary New Yorkers in a post-2001 New York City and follows their ordinary lives in interesting ways. Out of these characters, we will be specifically looking at Claire. As the casting breakdown states, Claire is struggling with the progression of her relationship. She is a headstrong and emotionally layered woman who can't seem to let go of the past. While she loves her boyfriend, Jason, she is constantly in her own head and often shuts him out, getting in her own way of happiness. Since we will be focusing on one of the final songs in the show, a little more context needs to be given to actually understand what Claire has been going through. In terms of the knowledge that the audience is aware of by this time, the song occurs after Jason has proposed for marriage after a big fight. The two have not seen each other since, and Claire has had a traumatic response that causes for her to feel the need to meet up with him again. What the audience does not know, but we will need to know to dissect this song, is that Claire was previously married to a man named John for a year, who passed away during the September 11th attacks. She has never told Jason anything about John or her previous marriage. With this knowledge, we can begin to dissect the song and see how it exhibits an effective song of grief. Thus, we dive into setting the stage, which was the first little plot. Like we just went over, there are a lot of things going on with Claire. In the scene prior to I'll Be Here, looking at it from Claire's perspective, she was walking down 16th Street and saw a cluster of different colored papers falling from the sky. And it triggered into her memory of John's passing. This causes for her to call Jason to meet up with him and have a conversation of this song. Knowing this, we have set up our ambiance of caution, and the music aids us in this as well with a timid introduction followed by a fermata, or a pause, before Claire sings her first note. Even choosing to begin this story, the use of the fermata shows that she is hesitant to begin but chooses to proceed with caution. Among deciding to continue the story, Claire enters emotional recall by retelling and simultaneously beginning her journey to reliving. She starts at the beginning, relaying how she met John and how they quickly got engaged, indulging in the once upon a time effect. And one thing that is important to note is that she continues to proceed with caution, as notated with the recurring fermata, whenever she makes a conscious decision to further the story, until she gets so caught up in her emotional recall that instead of pausing when she decides to add a large detail, she changes the key a lot. With each detail. This causes for her to send herself into emotional embodiment. She barrels through to the next part of the song, approaching a point of code red, in which she continues to change keys on each pivotal moment in her memory. But her words are depicting the day that John passed. She no longer is telling that story, but is now reliving it. We know she has returned from reliving to retelling with another use of the fermata down here, and her apologizing. She shares the incident with the papers that she was made aware of the fact that, bad sentence. She shares the incident with the papers and that she was made aware of the fact that she is allowed to move on through the voice of John. She says, "As sure as I breathe, I heard John Thursday saying, 'Hey, you're allowed to move on. It's okay.'" And with those two little words, "it's okay," she feels the forgiveness for trying to move on. In this portion of the song, she speaks from John's point of view, saying, "I'll be here even if you decide to get rid of my favorite sweater, even if you go out on my birthday this year instead of sitting at home letting all of life's moments pass by. You don't have to cry." Having this sense of forgiveness allows for her to enter the final stage of the Song of Grief, embodied amplification. She is able to take the forgiveness that she finally gave herself through the words of John and apply them to herself, transforming her into the person she needs and wants to be, or at least beginning to. To begin to move on with her life and be happy with the present. And by acknowledging all of the things that she can now do again, as shown through the lyrics, she is able to celebrate all of the things that her and John once did together. In turn, she is now able to find celebration in those same things with herself and with her partner, currently, who is Jason. This allows her to lay out the new rules for herself and her life with Jason moving forward. She is able to do the things that she enjoys without feeling guilty for enjoying them. Finally, she begins the dance, beginning to live through the rules she just set, which starts her accepting the proposal from Jason and assuring them that she can and will be there for him. And now that we've checked all these boxes and displayed how this song fits the criteria of all these things, why do we care? Why do we care that I'm saying it? Why do we care? Any other, what's the point of me sharing it? Why do we put grief and pain into art and musical theater? And don't people come to theater to escape reality, not have it displayed upon them? Isn't that what theater is about? Well, pulling from the book, Grief and the Expressive Arts once again, one of the reasons that art holds a special place in the experience of loss is because it has the ability to transcend time. It reminds the viewer of the original event long after it has passed, allowing for continuity, and immortality. I asked the question at the beginning of this presentation, why do we turn to art in times of grief? Why do we display pain and grief on a stage for people to watch? Because it gives the gift of immortality. Art allows for a visual and emotional memorialization of the event or person we are grieving. It provides a feeling of aliveness to a situation that we can no longer grasp. But through the theater, we are able to create a new world in which we can rest.